Today we are going to examine the horoscope of Madonna and see what her relationship with religion is like. However, before we do that, it seems I need to clarify a couple of points about this video. In the comments that follow, I refer to Madonna's stage name choice. Some entertainers have chosen an invented name to be their stage name, like the Spice Girls. Others chose their own name, like Britney Spears, although she didn't choose Britney as her stage name. And Madonna Ciccone chose only her first name. At that time, there was only one Madonna in the world's awareness. Now there are two, as can be seen in Wikipedia. And many in the current generation only know Madonna, the entertainer. Her stage name choice, even though it was her own name, was still incendiary for many Christians, notably Catholics. Even today, you can find blogs discussing the error of her ways. Some of these people pray that Madonna conform to their opinions as to how things should be, while the prayers of others are invocations of love and trust in God. During her career, she has come under censure from the Vatican and challenged the sensitivities of many Christians. In a way, she drew a line in the sand and took all Christians to task to turn the other cheek and follow the greatest commandment, as endorsed by Jesus. Something about love, as I recall. Of course, not every Christian is up to this. They're still learning how to do this, and fair enough. Others have opinions that liberate them from this challenge, and still others don't perceive a problem. And if I keep talking like this, I'll probably get into more trouble than I usually do. So let's move on and have a look at what astrology says. But even here, remember, I'm only describing what astrology says. I usually use keywords that are at the top of the list for each astrological element I refer to. My personal role in this is actually quite small. I'm joining the dots that already exist and that I see. Many of you who know astrology would actually see more points of connection than I actually mention. Anyway, after this rather long introduction, let's get on with it and have a look. When we talk about Madonna, it's not long before we ask about her antipathy to the religion she grew up with as a child. And of course, along with this, is the question of her provocative stage name. Yet the astrological basis for this is, in fact, one of the first things we see in her horoscope. To understand this, we need to understand the role of Venus in the horoscope. One of the most important properties of Venus is what I think of as valuing. Venus is associated with high-quality living, and for that to occur, the ability to discern value is a key component. When Venus is in a positive relationship with a planet, it signals a positive valuing of that planet's attributes. However, when it is stressed or in a negative relationship with a planet, it often signals a devaluing process that tends to dominate. Now we see that here in the relationship between Venus and the planet most strongly associated with religion, Neptune. This combination clearly suggests a depreciation or devaluing of the attributes associated with Neptune. It's interesting to note that Neptune is also associated with innocence, and its placement in the fourth house adds to this, as it is the house of nurturing and usually reflects the experience of childhood. Leo is the sign associated with getting attention, showing off, and shining brightly in front of people. Unsurprisingly then, the disdain that would have grown in childhood for religion is shown to the world in her choice of a stage name. As a good Leo, she is putting the spotlight on those matters that significantly attract her attention. In fact, we see that Venus is in the same sign as her Sun, and this adds weight to the Venus-Neptune combination. Although her approach can be labelled and has been labelled as negative, it has nevertheless been exceptionally successful. Is there evidence that she can be successful through an apparently negative approach to life? Well, in fact, there is. As we have seen before, Saturn and the South Node, loosely speaking, represent the two most negative points in a horoscope. In Madonna's horoscope, she has a strong and positive connection with the Sun and the South Node, and also the Sun has a strong, positive connection with Saturn. This three-way combination speaks of a person with a lot of discipline, toughness, a capacity to strip away what's irrelevant, a person motivated to strip away illusions. This process of stripping things down to the basics is something that Leo has the capacity to display as well. So, her willingness to bear all is not really that surprising, especially as the planet associated with audiences, Uranus, sits comfortably in Leo as well. We should point out that Madonna's relationship with Neptune has an important and positive connection with Mercury, the planet associated with walking, talking, the voice, and singing, especially when Mercury is in an earth sign, as it is here in Virgo. This is a great combination for inspired creativity, both vocally and image-wise, as Neptune relates to images as well. Further, with Pluto close to Mercury, the planet representing power and sexuality, this too then becomes added in to her singing and the imagery she presents in her work. Finally, an interesting side note to this Mercury-Neptune connection is that it opens a doorway to finding religion or religious practices. However, the focus will tend to be associated more with tangible forms of power, also control and influence, the governing of life and behaviour. It could even include sexual rituals. Adopting Wicca as a religion would not be surprising, in fact. Now Saturn has something to say here as well. First of all, because of its strong connection in her horoscope, it suggests that matters associated with tradition, old traditions and practices, should be considered and would be quite comfortable for her to adopt. In fact, she would be most at home with religious practices that hold a certain timeless, ageless dimension. Well, a lot could be said here about this horoscope. However, I'm hoping that the topics that we've raised here already show that Madonna clearly is working with and expressing the energies of her horoscope, and perhaps, if you're interested, you can freeze frame some of the horoscope and actually have a look for other connections which I just haven't mentioned. As an example of something to have a look at, in previous videos I've spoken many times about the role Jupiter plays in a horoscope, how it's a factor which often shows up very positively and strongly to indicate success. Have a look at the relationship here with Jupiter in Madonna's horoscope. It certainly is powerfully placed.